First of all, I want to apologize. So all your viewers that have to deal with watching me after Flaco Navaja and all these Victor Cruz, you got all these people on there. I see it already. They're like this, yo, I'm gonna put on the Whip podcast and we're gonna listen to it. And the ladies like, the girls in the kitchen doing things. She's like, yeah, go ahead, put that on, no problem. Ay Dios, who's on today? And it's like, oh, it's Jesse Marrero. Who? Jesse Marrero. Oh, well, remember they had that scientist on one time and the doctor, the OBGYN. ¿Quién es Jesse Marrero? And it's like, it's Ricky's cousin. And I'm like, ay Dios mío, Ricky. He's pushing it.
He's ran out of gas.
Yeah. He's right. What happened? Ay, bendito.
But that's a great segue. Who is Jesse Marrero?
Oh, boy. Bueno. Well, I'm Jesse Marrero, born 1977. I'll give you. Well, I'm gonna give you I'm a boy, son of a sharecropper. No, I a humble dude from the Bronx, born and raised. All my adult, from the kid all the way to my adult life and stuff, and now I am a man, a father, a husband of 6 children, a beautiful wife, a home in the country, in the suburbs, and I'm a working guy. I'm an electrician for the city. I do the best I can to support my family, to raise my children with morals and ethics, and working hard, showing them the way, showing them how to be a good person, how to be the right person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to tell people, hey, this is what you should be doing. Like nowadays, it's like I don't want to tell my kids what to do. I want to show my kids what to do.
Well, you had a lot of that too, like, because that's how you learn. Like before you was like you learned a lot from your parents, and we was talking about before we started recording, and just life in general. Because before you moved into this beautiful suburb house, you was in the Bronx projects.
Oh yeah,
so born and raised
in the projects during the 80s, the burnt down Bronx era. It was crazy. You know how it is, pissy hallways and and crime but your neighborhood was your neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like we grew up knowing our neighborhood, and we didn't know anything about. I grew up where everybody knew each other. The whole neighborhood knew of everybody. There was no, who's that? Who's this? Who's that? Everybody knew each other. Like we respected everybody else's parents. Whatever the parent was there at the time. You know what I mean? Like, because I think there was maybe 2 or 3 fathers in the whole neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah. And you're talking about 5 projects of 21 floors each.
Damn.
And you're talking about a handful of fathers. A handful. That's the epidemic that was going on back then. No fathers around and all this crazy stuff going around. And my dad was one of those guys, that he still to this day, God bless him, that he'll give you anything. Anything you need, anything you want, he'll get it for you. It's not about just for his family and kids and stuff. It's about him just giving because he came from humble beginnings of Puerto Rico, came here and stuff, and worked all his life here and gave the best he could for his kids. Everybody's like, oh, what kind of father, keeps his kids in the projects. It's the best he could do.
Yeah.
And he did a great job keeping that foot in our butts. It's 4 of us, and neither one of us got arrested. Neither one of us did crazy things, drugs and, all that type of stuff. We saw it happening.
But on top of that, like I remember, like even I learned something. Like you said, he came from Puerto Rico like at 14
years old, man.
You don't even know who drove him to the airport.
Yeah.
With $1 in his pocket. Had 14 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 14 brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And I had to figure it out.
Yep. Yeah. So this is a man that I respect to this day, because I became him. I became him only because I saw what he was able to do for us.
Yeah.
For us. It was, like I said, it was 4 of us. My 2 brothers weren't his biological kids, but he raised, helped raise them. And and when I say raised them, back in those days, he was the breadwinner. That's the way he helped raise them, and the disciplinarian. You know what I mean? So that's the way it was in those days. And I have a sister, so it was 3 boys and a girl. Um, quick little thing to tell you how old school it was. I remember him saying one time, I was helping my sister wash the dishes, and he took me and put me in the living room, and he told my mother, "That's why you have a daughter." Straight up. And I was like, wow. I love being with my sister.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to help her so we could play something. Yeah. It was always Monopoly, whatever was going on in those days, Uno. So, but yeah, but he came up saying that, and it wasn't anything to me. Like, I was just like, whatever. And then growing up, as I grew older, I started to realize, that's just the way those things were.
Like everybody pitched in.
Everybody pitched in, and everybody pitched in the way they're supposed to be pitching.
And they had their roles.
Right, right. There was set roles, and so besides that, we grew up happy. We grew up as a happy family. My sister and I were very close because we were closer in age. My brothers are 12 and 13 years older than me. So, once they were teenagers, they were doing their thing, DJing and doing all this stuff, music. And I was a sports kid, playing baseball.
Yeah. I always knew you as the baseball person.
Yeah, that was my thing.
Stats, playing it, all that stuff. Your dad taking you to play, blah, blah, blah. You have hilarious stories with that.
That was like growing up, my dad would take me to my games. Like that was our interaction. We never had like, hey, how you doing, son? How's class? How's school and stuff? And he's just like, no, he really didn't care about that because, again, he paid for my school because he put me through Catholic school all growing up, even all through high school. I went to Cardinal Hayes High School. But when it came to playing baseball, it was like, that's it. Like, we were doing that. And he wasn't one of those pushy dads. He was my coach for a while growing up. Then when I got to high school, he would come to the games, stuff like that. And that's something that, when I think about it now, my dad did all the fun things and stuff like that. My mom did all the grunt work. My mom was home. She cooked and she cleaned. And like I said, she used to wash my clothes, iron my clothes, set out my clothes, and I didn't have to do anything, So much so that when I went to college, oh man, dude, I was like, you gotta wash your clothes, you gotta do your own stuff here. And what did I wind up doing? I wound up latching on to these 2 girls, Nadia and Melissa, who are my best friends to this day. Because of that, those girls, they helped me. They helped me wash my clothes. They helped me eat. I mean? Like it was crazy. Like, I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff because back then the moms did everything for you, so you didn't learn anything. You know what I mean? So as I'm growing up, I started to realize, like, okay, now I started to get that independence, and I felt good. Like, wow, this is so much fun to be able to do your own thing.
Yeah.
And then, I went to college, and now I'm on my own in my own room, with a roommate and stuff. And you got, you learn new people. I came from a neighborhood, it's just all Black and Spanish.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now I see there was one white dude in my high school, or 2 of them. And there was 2 white dudes in my high school. One was Italian, the kid was, it's like, then all of a sudden, like, you go to this place, it's like you see Asian people, and you see, not just Black people, it's Haitians and Jamaicans and all this, it's like, and then I started realizing, I'm in college, and some of the kids that I went to high school with, they start talking, and I'm like, oh, you Jamaican? I didn't know you were Jamaican. I thought you were just Black. And I'm like, what's just Black? And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I'm from I just Project Black. I didn't Project Black.
I thought it was just Black, for the Bronx Black. So you start like,
was that
developing in the world,
developing the world and different cultures, culture shock, and all
culture
that stuff.
Shock. Yeah, it's like I'm starting to meet people from Long Island, because that's where the college was, and I'm meeting people that never been to the city. I'm like, what? You never been to New York City? And they're like, no. I said, you ever been to Queens? It's like right. They're like, no. So it's like one of those things where, again, like, I'm learning as I'm going along and stuff in the world. Then, like, the world, because the college is like, like I was saying before, it's like college is a place to grow and stuff, but it's really not the real world until you get out of there.
Yeah.
But it is a portion of it because now you're by yourself. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You have to do your own things, and teachers don't beg you for anything. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all on you. You know how it is. You're
Yep.
up in Buffalo, so and you real far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
was an hour away, hour and a half. You were 8-9 hours away.
Yeah.
A day away. So so yeah, it was one of those things. I went to Cardinal Hayes High School, like I said, and that helped develop me as a young man. I treasure the time that I had there. One, because I didn't have the angst of being a boy chasing girls because it was an all boys school. We did. To this day, I got 7 of my best friends are still from high school.
Oh, damn.
One of them I known since we were 10, Noriel. Because we used to play Little League together, and then we met up again in high school. So, and I'm still best friends with these guys to this day. And one is out in Chicago. The other guy is out in Virginia. So one guy was in Texas. I think he's back in New York. So it's like, but we still, my wife Ivy is so funny when we get together and you start seeing them, like seeing us. She goes, these guys are best friends. Like we just rank on each other. You know what I mean? How it is. We just get on each other.
Like nothing. Like you didn't miss a step.
Yeah. It's like we back to being 14 again, and 15 and stuff. And it's crazy how we all got together. And now, we're all men and we all have families. We all have kids, but we still are kids when we get together and stuff. And it's incredible. I love being with them. But like I said, when we're together, it's like, my face hurts from laughing so much. My stomach, we got to Motrin it up. We are 43 now. So it's like any little laughter and stuff, my back, I'm like, I gotta take some Motrin before I go to bed. But
what did baseball bring to you in your life? Because I felt like, that was such a big passion of yours, but I felt like also like it was also like one of your like safe havens, like one of your therapeutic moments too, like maybe that you didn't have in the house. So like, what did that sport and that discipline bring to you?
Well, baseball, gave me that bond with my father. My father grew up playing baseball in Puerto Rico. My uncles, one of my uncles made all the way through the minor leagues and stuff like that. So they taught me from when I was very little. I was like 3 years old. I remember them hitting me ground balls. And I remember one time to get me out of the fear, because I used to always pick my leg up because I didn't want to get hit with the ball as I'm picking up, grounder and stuff. They made me stand there as they were hitting balls to my shins. For real. And and it's like, wow, that's brutality and stuff like that. But it helped me realize like it wasn't that bad of it wouldn't hurt. You know what I mean? Like
overcame your fears.
Right. They helped me overcome my fears, and even standing in the batter's box and throwing pitches to me and stuff like that. So it was a bond that I had with my dad. And like I said, he was my Little League coach, and all through my childhood. And then when I got to high school, watching him watch me was like, it was incredible. I really felt like I was doing something major. What I mean? Like to me, it's like when I watch like fathers watch their kids in the major league, stuff like that, like I get goosebumps, and it almost makes me cry, because I go, not because I didn't make it, but because I know that feeling of the son watching his father watch him.
And you experienced that,
right?
Like you remember that moment.
I remember that. I got, look, it's coming up now. I got the goosebumps coming up now. But it's like a father and his son, the bond, it is something major. I have 3 sons. I have 3 girls and 3 boys. And Zayas is 22 years old. Obviously my firstborn child. And we now have these conversations of adult matter, and it's just like, wow, this is crazy. Like I remember holding him and saying, man, when because I had him at 21. I didn't have him. His mom had him, but I was there. But I remember holding him and saying, wow, when he's 21, I'll be 42. Man, that's crazy. And last year when he turned 21, we did a party for him, between him, his mom and I. We she set up the place and stuff, and it was a bar, it was a nice place. And it was just like, I bought a beer for me and him, and I have video of it, and me and him just chugging it down and drinking. And it was incredible, because it's a rite of passage in a Spanish family to share a beer with your son on that day. I remember my 21st birthday, my dad took me to Atlantic City with his brothers. He was like, we're going to Atlantic City, for your birthday, and we do that side. And we never did anything like that, birthday wise. Growing up, it was like, here's a little cake, happy birthday, whatever, blah, blah,
from Valencia.
Yeah. Valencia cake, it's like, scribbled up, whatever, this guy's name right there, boom. So it was like, I'm like, I don't even like that cake. I was like, that's pineapple. It's like, oh my God, they're all pineapple. It's like, I know, I don't like it. So yeah, it's like, and then most of it, it's gonna be either thrown away or my mother like sneak little bits and pieces, like, oh no, un pedacito. Yeah. So that was major. 21 years old. He takes me to Atlantic City. He gives me some money. I wasn't really doing anything yet. And he's like, here's money. You're gonna gamble and stuff like that. And we gambled and stuff. We went to a flea market. It was just like, but I remember him getting a beer and ordering one for me, and we salute each other and drank it. And he said, he even told me, he goes, you probably drank already before, but this is now official. This is real. This is whatever. So and again, I was a regular teenage kid. Yeah, I had drank already. Buying 40s. Back in the when we
Mad Dog 2020.
Yeah. Crazy Horse. Yeah. In 9th grade, 10th grade, and stuff like that. I'm sorry, all my teachers. It's like that's just us. We were product of what was going on at that time. I mean, in the mid 90s, early 90s. But yeah, man. So baseball was huge because it was something I was good at. It was something I was good at. And I didn't let it blow my head up because I was always undersized when it came to, and I was always young. When I started, they have a Pee Wee division, Little League, Junior Pony and Pony, type of stuff, like the divisions. I was always a year younger than everybody else because they always moved me up because I was good. The only problem was I was mad skinny. I was always a real skinny kid, like growing up. My mother used to my father like, senden un ponche, de Malta con un huevo ahí, like all these crazy concoctions. And like all the 40-year-olds are like, oh my God, yeah, I remember that. Oh my goodness. I hope I'm not talking too loud in this thing.
No, it's great. You're great.
But yeah, so it was that. And
well, also that was like, I also feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, like that was your talent that you had with your dad that you was being noticed and having that bonding, but also something that differentiate you from your other brothers because they was all musical and like maybe you was like, I'm not musical. I like the music, but I'm not making the beats.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, but I got baseball. Like this was like your thing.
And we didn't have anything in common when it came to that. My brothers were producers and DJs, DJs first, and then they became producers and stuff, and they're making music, and that's again, like my dad, he would, whatever they needed, he would go out and get it for them. They were like, oh, we don't have the money for this, but boom, he would just like, just whatever, just take it, whatever you need, how much you need, what do you need me to do? I remember him building these coffins for their turntables, you know what I mean, and building. He built them a singing booth. We're in the projects, bro. It's a 2-bedroom apartment. 1 bedroom was a studio now because they had nothing but DJ equipment, mixing boards.
Wow,
bro. I mean, these big speakers, Gauss speakers. I don't know why I remember that. I don't know why I know that. I don't know what that means, but I know there were Gauss speakers. There were 2 big ones, one stacked on the other. That goes to show you how big these rooms were, first of all. Because first of all, it was a room for 3 boys. It was the bunk beds and then the bed underneath, the trussel bed that would come out, for me to be in. That didn't work out that way. The top bunk was for all their clothes. That's where they put everything on the and then I don't know how they slept, these 2. They must have slept in the same bed or like on the other thing sliding out. But I slept with my sister in the living room. Like we had the sofa bed from Jennifer Convertibles. You know what I mean? We had that joint. Before that, it was the the two couches. You had the love seat and the big couch, you know, with the plastic all on it that are still stuck on to me. You know, little bits and pieces are still stuck on me. I'm gonna start. I got cuts and bruises of all those plastics. You remember that? So but yes, but we had that thing that they tried to teach me the music, how to DJ and stuff like that. I remember one time, this is my favorite story, man. My brother Don, rest in peace, man. He he I started singing, you know, at that time Bobby Brown was huge, and New Edition and stuff like that, like early 90s and stuff, and Don't Be Cruel. So I'm singing it, and Don goes, he gets like this thing like, oh man, I think he's getting in it. You know, he's getting into music. He's getting into music. It's great. So he brings me in. He's like, yo, Jess, you want to sing, man? Maybe we, we check it out. And I'm like, I don't sing. I don't have a voice or anything. Like, I was all squeaky. I was like, I don't know how to sing. Like I had a real high voice growing up. I was like, I don't know. So I'm like, all right. So I remember him. I'm sitting on the bottom bunk, and he takes the mic. He puts it through the top bunk, and it's just hanging there like this. So now I'm going. So he goes, all right, just sing natural. I'll put the song on, and you go with it, whatever. So I'm starting singing. So now I'm starting to sing, and to me, I go, oh, I guess he wants me to sound like Bobby Brown. so I'm like, I don't be cry. You never. And he's like, what are you? He goes, wait. He starts it out. He goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, you wanted me to sing, so I'm singing. So he's like, no. He goes, just sing your regular thing. Well, long story short, it did not work out well. He was like, he got so frustrated. He was like, forget it. He was like, don't worry about this.
he had this moment. It was like, you know what? It's over.
Yeah, he was like, it's so over. This guy is not. He's just a shortstop, and that's it. And he didn't even know what shortstop was. So like we had no not communication, but we had no interest in each other's things. He wasn't a sports guy. I wasn't a music guy. He and my brother Victor, they were very tight with the music. They just knew stuff. They learned it all on their own. They learned it all on their own. I mean, I commend what they did growing up, because it wasn't something that they learned in school. It wasn't something that they learned through mentor or whatever. Like, they did have like people that would show them those stuff, but it was,
he was pretty much on the outside watching all this stuff.
Yes,
even though you had a VIP seat, but he was on the outside.
Yeah, I literally was going to shows with them, like Boston and like Long Island and all these crazy places, and Connecticut at one time. And like I'm going and I'm seeing, I'm like, and everybody's going crazy over them, and I'm like, those are my brothers. Like, God, these guys hit me with spoons, man. Like, these guys they're not cool, man. These guys, they're wrong. But at that time, it's Aloca and all that type of stuff. It was huge. And then I'm growing up in school, and I didn't want anybody to know any about this stuff.
Really?
Not that I cared. I just didn't, I didn't want to. I don't know what it was, honestly. I don't know if it wasn't that I didn't want the attention. I just didn't want anybody to know any of it, so nobody knew.
What's so funny? I was like almost like the opposite in a sense, because like I used to watch TV, or like there was always someone that maybe knew someone, or like I guess that was my ticket. That like, oh, I know someone that's famous. I would say famous because he was all around, and that was my ticket to like do a name drop when it happened, right? So like I feel like I think I was still like almost in a sense like finding myself. Like I didn't have any talents that I was like aware of that I was showcasing. So, but this one talent that I had was a name drop of my cousin, the Web Hum Man. So I remember like just when music, it would be like a random thing. Like if I hang out with my best friend Carlos' house, and like his brothers would be over, or the song would be on, I see them like jamming or whatever to like Esa Loca, and I'm like, oh yeah, this was my shit. I was like, oh, you like that? Like I was the manager. I was like,
you're about to drop the bomb.
Boom. He was like, yeah, yo, this was the shit, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, the Weapon Man? I was like, yeah, I love that, man. I see him, I was like, it's my cousin. It's like, it was like flawless every time.
Isn't it always bad because everybody's always somebody's cousin? So it don't work. You're like, yeah, your cousin. Yeah, my cousin's cousin.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. It's like, I got pictures. And like, as if like the picture's gonna be like, and the voice would come out like, wah, like you open up like a homework, and it was like, that's not him. I was like, it is him.
I'm telling you, so it's so funny because a lot of my I always thought about that because it's funny. Cedric the Entertainer, the comedian, he always talks about he always says this one thing, and it's so true. Whenever you hear that, like nowadays, like we killed the word cousin.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
we always say, oh, that's my cousin.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's my cousin. Like, but they were never related or
Yeah.
whatever. But that's my cousin or whatever. So Cedric the Entertainer always talks about when Tiger Woods started, coming up, he was his thing, and then all of a sudden a lot of black people started going to golf and all that stuff, and then I started getting like, oh yeah, this is mad cool, yo, and they're talking, and people like, shh, he's like, yo man, I could say something. Tiger, my cousin, I could say something. It's like it reminds me of that because growing up, again, like I said, I didn't.
You never name
I
dropped.
never name dropped. Yeah, I never said anything. But one day in 8th grade, it's so funny, man. I'm there, and I'm dating my son's mom at the time. We were 8th grade. If you call that dating,
Yeah.
Would you go out with me? That type of stuff. So we were together, and then all of a sudden, this girl, I remember her name was Sally, something like Sally. She goes, I saw your name. You know two without hats. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? This girl's crazy. What is she talking about? And remember those days, the cassettes used to have the pullouts.
Oh my gosh,
and
read that?
And the thanks were on there. Yo, I'm like, who reads these things? This girl is a true fan, yo.
Yeah.
So she was like, I saw your name, Jesse Marrero, on there. And I was like, no, I'm talking about it. And it's just, I couldn't deny it anymore. So I just like let it go, whatever. It's like, yeah, it's my brothers or whatever, this and that. Because you know what the big misconception is that when you're in music, you millionaires.
Oh yeah.
Off the bat. You millionaires.
Any type of entertainment thing.
And at that age, that's all you think about. You know, what was big back then in freestyle and house music, I mean, my brothers are responsible for playing, not creating house music, but playing the first house music when they were DJs. You're talking about in 87, 88 when they were DJs, and they're playing this type of music that has a lot of bass and all this crazy stuff. And it's like they were known as the Kiss Connection. They were DJs and stuff, and they had a crazy following. Like a following that I don't even understand how to explain it, because anywhere they went, people would go follow these two guys. I don't know about you, but I've never followed a DJ, or I've never known, besides all
except
these
DJ
famous
Khaled,
guys,
because he's the one that's saying DJ
right,
Khaled.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't even know, like, besides DJs on the radio and stuff like that. Like, to me back then, like they were being followed by people from La Mirage and doing stuff, and the Devil's Nest and all this crazy stuff. And back then, like the biggest guy was like Little Louis Vega, and all these guys that I'm gonna forget, so I'm not even gonna butcher it trying to do it. But I grew up in that time, and I grew up older than I should have been, because I was at those clubs. I was watching all this happening. I was in the booth, watching all this stuff, like people literally chanting Kiss Connection, and I'm like, now I see DJ Khaled and all these guys, have a big following. So I'm like, wow, if my brothers would have come up around this time, let's say, who knows, what God had planned for them, but at that time they were enormous. They really were. They were enormous. And they didn't have that, yo, we're mad big. They just knew that, hey, we love doing this.
Yeah.
We love going, and clubs will be like, yo, we got to get these guys in here and stuff like that.
And I think that's was something that that a lot of people admired. Not Victor, and I want to speak on Don, because a lot of things was said about him is like, and it was true, like he was so humbled. I think that was the number one thing. I know when I met people that you would think of that that you see on TV or whatever, like you hear a lot of stories that you'll be crushed because like they're an asshole or whatever. But these people were always humbled, and they always gave love, and Don was that person that didn't let his ego get the best of him and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it was an alter ego that he actually had.
Right.
Don,
and which I want to get into with your relationship with him. What was your guys' connection, and what was behind the voice? Who was Don?
Who was that? Yeah. My brother was 13 years older than me. Victor was 12 years old. They were a year and a half apart. They grew up together, and the biggest thing with them is that, like I said, they had a bond, and we didn't, because we were so spread out.
Yeah, which is natural.
Right, it's natural. It's natural. Like my sister's right in the middle. She's 7 years younger than them and 7 years older than me. You know what I mean? So she was right in the middle. But she and I had a good bond because, again, old school, she wasn't allowed to go out. And where was I going? I was little. You know what I mean? So I was always stuck with my sister in a good way, not like stuck with my sister, but we were stuck in the house.
So let's speak on that. Like, what was the bond that you and your sister have? So like
all
Victor and Don had, they had their bond, the music, and you guys still loved each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you and Janet was the glue to your relationship.
Yep. Yeah. To this day, I mean, we've lived next to each other a bunch of times. Like after living together in the freaking pull-out couch in the sofa bed. So yeah, I slept with my sister all through 8th grade and 9th grade in the sofa bed. You know what I mean? I let nobody know about that. You know what I mean? Like, but now I let everybody know about that because it's why I have a tight bond with my sister. My brothers, it wasn't until I got older, until I had a kid, that me and Don got to talking, and because now we had something in common. We'd never had anything in common. He wasn't a sports guy. He didn't care about my stuff. Me and Victor he started to want to learn about baseball, so I started teaching him and talking to him, and that was cool. And he never pushed music onto me. And he would try like to want to DJ and stuff like, but he knew. He was like, oh, this is hopeless, because this guy had no tone of any kind. Forget deaf tone, tone deaf. I had no tone. So and my sister was like an incredible singer. So, I mean, she still has a great voice. So they had that bond. My sister and I had a bond. So it wasn't until I got older, and when I'm 21 years old now, I have a son, and my brother now, he at this point has pretty much been a father figure. I watch him going to work, support his family, do all this stuff. He pretty much did everything first. My sister was the first one to get a house, to buy a house, but my brother was the first one to have a kid, first one to be married, the first, like, of course, he was older than all of us, but yeah. So I saw him as I'm growing up, and that just, it's not that I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like my brother, or I'm gonna be like my father. It just becomes that. I became my father and I became my brother, because I saw it happen. I saw it happening before my eyes, and I just knew that's what you got to do. And my brother did the music, and he had a job, because he was like, yo, I needed to support my family, because the music at that time, like I said, everybody thinks you're a millionaire. You're not. You're making like money here and there, but nothing life changing. So we had the bond of being fathers now. My sister already had a daughter at the time, so it's like
which probably meant more to you, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, now you guys try different things to like bond, but like naturally you guys just bonded naturally with the fatherhood. And there was the full circle. I know with my brother, he's way older, and that was something that I struggled with. It was like, well, we don't have he was out the house. I pretty much was alone. My sister was older. I was close to my sister, but then she left life. You know what I'm saying? And we just naturally drifted apart. And me and my brother, we didn't really started connecting until work, like after college, and teaching me the ropes.
As men, again, it's not about putting labels on things. I know people are so afraid of labels, but as men, that's what we do. That's what we know. We know how to go out and hunt, and support our families, or we watch it happen, and then we know at a certain point we're gonna have to go and get that. Like I said earlier, I was my son was coming, and I had a little after school program job, which was paying me part-time, and and your brother, my cousin Angel, was like, yo, you need a real job, bro. It's like you got real responsibility coming. So he and my brother Don worked together in the electrical business, suppliers, and they got me involved in a company as a helper, and it was a small little company and stuff. And let me tell you, bro, it sucked. It sucked. I cried. I was crying.
Cried?
Yeah, bro, 22, 23 years old, because first of all, I'm taking the bus.
At work?
Bro, everywhere. Everywhere. And listen, I don't care who's listening. This is for real. Y'all need to be honest with what goes on with your life, man, because bro, I was crying because I hated my job. I hated the guy that I was with.
Yeah.
I hated the guy that I was with. He was such a man. I mean,
negative.
I mean, he was negative. He was just old school guy.
Yeah.
He was old school guy. Now I'll get back to him. But then what ended up happening was Angel tells me, oh no, Don tells me, yo, bro, you just gotta do it. You know, it's like, what are you gonna do? You know, what else you gonna do?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, you know, whatever. So I just again, I'm thinking I got a mom, you know, a girl and a son at home, an apartment. You know, at that time, $630 a month was the rent, which was like 1,000, you know, like $100,000 to me, because I was like, oh my god, I was making $650 an hour as a helper, and I was bringing home $226 a week. That's what I was bringing home to a child and a girl, and it was rough, man. It was rough. And Ange, you know, we would do work and stuff like here and there. He would help me out and stuff, and it was real rough. It was real rough. But the reason why I would cry is because I was like, I had to take 3 buses to get, because it was in Queens. So, and I lived in the Bronx. So I used to have to take the 42 bus all the way to the to West Farms, take the Q44 over the Whitestone Bridge, and then take the Q76 over to my thing. So you're talking about in the winter, you're talking in the summer, you're talking about all the time.
How long you was doing that for?
I did that. Well, I did that up to
like a year or so.
I did that for like 2 years.
Oh my god, 2 years. $6.50 for 3 hours.
No. The $6.50 happened for 6 months.
Okay.
Because then I think the boss felt bad for me because we had the kid. Because now Zayas came in December. Yeah. I started in June. December, Zayas came. And he bumped me up to $8.
Okay.
So now I was bringing home like $250 because, you know, with the taxes. You're like, what happened there? Oh man, I thought I was gonna make money. This is not money.
Now we get a gallon of milk.
yeah, exactly.
A quart.
Yeah. No more quarters. Now we're up to half a gallon. So yeah, and then of course, you know, Zayas being Zayas, he was lactose intolerant, so we had to get this special formula for him.
Oh my god!
I wanted to strangle this kid. I was like, man, we got no money, you know. But yeah. So now. And then plus I had that dealing with this guy that he was just an old school guy. He would tell me, do this, do that. You know, why don't you know how to do that? Why don't you know how to, you know, it's just like whatever. So I was just taking it. And then Angel's just like, look, man, just, it is what it is. Like, you know, like these guys, they knew like, yo, this is the business. This is the way it is. This ain't cupcake, you know, how it is. This is,
it's true. I would go back and forth. I would go back and forth with my brother all the time with that. Like
I remember on your show when you were talking about
and also like just the mutual respect in the industry. Like don't talk to me like I'm a piece of shit. And my brother would be like, that's how they talk.
That's how they talk.
And I'm like, okay. And like almost in a sense, like he's telling me like it feels that like I'm wrong for standing up for myself.
Right.
Like he said he wasn't knocking me for saying that, but it's like, well, he's pretty much telling me you're going to do that every single day.
Right.
And I'm looking back and I was like, well, I'm going to do that every single day because I'm not going to have someone yell at me or disrespect me or curse at me. There's a way of talking. Yes, I understand that's the industry, but I'm not going to stand for it. Like
your generation, that's the thing about your generation. I mean, because we were born 88, right?
88,
you're 11 years younger than me.
Mind you, I didn't have any kids though, right? So you probably felt that you wanted to do that, but you're like, you know what? If I say something, you could clip me up and then I don't have a job.
Right. So that's what I was dealing with. So and I'm a person too that I'm very quiet and I'll just take it. I'll just take whatever it is and I'm going to do my job. And again, it wasn't a conscious thing of, you know what? I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to do a great job. No, it was just like, I guess in my subconscious or whatever was going on, I knew I had to support a family. So I got to just take whatever's going on. I knew what was at stake. So, and I'm a person that once I'm somewhere, I want to stay there. I really don't want to go anywhere else. You know, I'm not a mover and a shaker. You know, I'm very like, I'm comfortable. If I'm comfortable, I don't really need to go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like I'm that guy. So, because I give it to a lot of people that can move from job to job or follow their dreams, stuff like that. Like my dream was just baseball. That was my dream, to be a baseball player. I knew it wasn't going to happen at a certain point. I grew up in the era of Ozzie Smith and all these shortstops that were very skinny and slap the ball around. And then all of a sudden, as I'm growing up, I grew up with guys like A-Rod and Nomar and Jeter, and those guys have power. They were 6'5". I'm 6 foot on a good day, and wet. I'm like 106, 50 pounds at that time. Now I'm a little chubbier because I'm a father, but and my wife cooks delicious. So so I'm dealing with all that.
You're just
stuff.
realistic. I was like, it's still my passion, but like, I might not make it to the majors.
Right. And then I'm at the point too that I'm 21 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm playing baseball. I was playing baseball until I was 21, and then I knew that I had to stop it. Like I knew, like, you know what, I gotta do this. It's not about. It's almost like I don't need to have fun. I got to take care of my kids because I saw that with my father. And it wasn't something I was like, well, my father did it, so I should do it. It was just something that's just inside of you. It's just, what you got to do, as a man, to do that. So anyway, so I finally, I start moving up in the company after a year and a half. They start putting me by myself to work, wiring up houses, stuff like that. And I start doing, a good job and stuff. And now I'm moving up. I'm like at $10 an hour or something by that time.
You stop crying.
I stopped crying. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. Because bro, it was, you know what it was? It was just, I was out of my element.
Right.
I wasn't in mom's house anymore. I wasn't being taken care of as far as, washing my clothes, and I had to do everything.
The real world hit.
The real world hit.
It was like, whoa,
yeah.
Like, there's
there's
no cushion.
Bricks. It was a ton of bricks. So now, I'm moving up and stuff like that. Now 2 years comes up, and I can't take it anymore. I can't be in this company anymore. I feel like I'm pressured too much. The reason why is because I had taken out a loan with the boss, and I told him, listen, we're gonna get evicted. I need you to help me.
Yeah.
So he gave me some money, and I told him I'll work it off on the Saturdays. And when you make a deal like that, you do it. You know what I mean? Like I would do it every Saturday. Every Saturday was work. Every Saturday. And then one Saturday, I was just fed up. I was like, yo, I'm tired of working every Saturday. I know I owe you this money. And he wasn't even like, you gotta work.
Yeah.
It's just I knew I had to pay this off. So I was like, yo, I don't want to work. And I did the dumbest thing ever. He tells me, oh, I really need you to work this Saturday doing something. And my brother Don had gone away. And Shane, his oldest son, was in baseball. So I told him I would go and help out, and take Shane and stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
And he's calling me. My boss is calling me, and I ignored it. I should have just told him, like, look, man, I have a responsibility. I've worked every Saturday. I just need this. I didn't do that because again, I'm a quiet dude. I didn't want to, ruffle any feathers. So I come Monday, he's pissed. And he's pissed, and he's leaving me messages on the phone that he gave me. At the time, was a big Nokia. I think it was, not Nokia, Nextel. I think it was big. It was heavy. So I came in with the plan, like, yo, I'm gonna quit.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell him, look, I had done a job for you with this other guy. He owes me this type of money, so this squares us with that money that I had borrowed from you. I think it was like $3,000 or whatever that I had borrowed from him. So I did that. I went to the thing, and this was like way out of my character. I thought I was gonna die in this company. Like I'm that type of guy. Like I would just stay there, no problem. So I went and I told him, I said, look, here's everything. I broke it down, itemized it, and showed him, look, this, that, blah, blah. And I said, I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't want to work here anymore. I don't want to do electrical anymore. I was done. So at the time, my son's mom, she's like, what are we gonna do? She had a job, and I was like, well, I know, I'll just find another thing to do. And I figured out, like, after a couple weeks, what also helped was that during that week that I quit, I had a bunch of other jobs that were open, with that company that I was wiring up houses and stuff. So the contractor was calling me saying, look, I'll give you more money on top of what your boss is paying you, so we can finish these things, come back. And I was like, nah. And that made me feel good, that I was like, all right, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I know that I'm a good worker, and I know that I know electrical.
Yeah.
And I learned all from there, from right on the job, not school or anything like that. So I find a job in White Plains, New York, upstate, not upstate, but like Westchester. And I remember your brother, he comes. I told him, I said, "Yo, man, I'm just gonna go up there. It's so much better up there." This and that. He goes, "Let me tell you something, bro." He goes, "Every boss is the same. You're
I
gonna
feel like I'm living through you. Like
the first
all
boss that I worked for was Phil, and now the second one is Paul, right?" He goes, all bosses are the same. So when you get up there, say hi to Phil because Phil is everywhere. And he goes, show me just like that. He goes, oh, it's all the same, all the
Yeah.
same, bro. And I was just like, whatever. I said,
Yeah.
you'll see. And sure enough, I'm up there and I start noticing after a couple months that it sucks. It's the same thing. Now
The tears start coming back again.
yeah, I'm taking the Metro North up there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I had no car at this time, so I'm taking the Metro North. I had a car, but it broke down. I had a jalopy. This thing was a mess. So I'm taking the Metro North up there, walking all the way. It was in White Plains, so I had to walk a certain distance up a hill. I swear, it's like one of those stories. I went to work and I walked up the hill each way. It's like, wait, how? But it was bad. It was bad. And then that company, the first company, called me after 6 months because the boss left and left it to the mechanic that I used to work for that I used to make me cry all the time, and this other mechanic. So they called me and they were like, "Yo, we want you back because we know you're a good worker and stuff blah blah." So I was like, So I was like, "Look, man, I'm gonna see because I really would like to go back there. It's new comfort again with me. Like I'd rather be where I was." So I said, "Look, I want this much," and they were like, "All right, no problem." So I was like, damn, I should ask for more. I said, I kind of had them other the nads there and I messed up. But I said, all right, fine. So I did that. I came back to them and yeah, and my brother, at the time, same thing. He's telling me, like now I'm confiding in him, talking to him about this stuff. We have this connection now. So we went from being fathers and to being husbands, because at that I wasn't married, but but having to support a family and now work. And the electrical field. You know what I mean?
Did this stuff come natural to you, like when you had to learn it, or was it like a struggle for you to learn?
It did come natural, man.
Oh, wow.
I struggled a little bit only because, see, I'm good at direction. I'm a guy that I'm good at direction. I'm good at being a supervisor too. Like I can supervise jobs. I'm really good at that. But I'm really good at what you want me to do. I will do it for you. And now, in the past, you're talking about that was 1998 all the way to 2000 that I was, going through that stuff and I came back to the company. So you're talking about 20 years later that I could run jobs, major jobs, and do all this stuff and have a lot of men under me and be able to order material and all that type of stuff. So it's like I was never a great student in school. But I knew how to follow directions. And again, that's why I say I thank God that I went to Cardinal Hayes High School because Cardinal Hayes helped me to be a disciplined person. I know a lot of people knock, like Catholic schools or even like disciplinary type of things like that, like institutions. But it's sort of like military-ish. Like I knew I didn't want to be in the military. Like to me, I give all props to all soldiers and stuff that go through that stuff because they did it and stuff like that. I don't think I'll be able to do it because like my body frame, I was very small and I didn't want to go through that torture and stuff like that. But the mental discipline is what I really enjoy, which is weird, but I really enjoy mentally disciplining myself and having people put that on me. So now this guy, Tommy, is the guy that I couldn't stand this guy. To this day, I love him. I love him because from that time on, it was almost like a hazing,
Who's this Tommy guy?
Tommy is the mechanic that used to
that
I was
it
working.
Was
Phil was the owner and Tommy was the mechanic.
So you had two people that was
Well, no. Well, Phil was cool. Phil was just the boss. Like we really didn't have that much interaction. It was Tommy was the guy that I was with all the time. I was his helper, but he taught me everything that I knew, that I was growing to know, and then he started to confide in me. He started to, like joke around and tell me, things about himself and do all these crazy things. And like we became partners. And that was great. I remember the day he called me a partner to somebody else. We were going into an apartment building in the city. We were doing a big apartment, 70 something street. It's like one of those duplex apartments. And I remember him going into the apartment, and I'm bringing in the stuff, and the lady, I heard the lady say, "Oh, are you by yourself?" He was like, "No, I have my partner with me." And that really hit home, that I was like, wow, I got this guy's respect.
Yeah.
And it was because, and he's the type of guy that he's not a touchy-feely, feelings, all that type of stuff guy. But I know what he feels about, how he feels about me.
And he started crying
and
now.
He's
That's
like,
my partner.
oh my God. But let me tell you, when I was leaving the company now to work for the city, the boss, now I'm a full-fledged mechanic. I had helpers under me. I was doing running jobs and doing all these crazy things. Now the owner of the company, Phil, tells me, listen, I know you're leaving, you're going to the city and stuff like that, and that's a great opportunity for you and stuff like that. He goes, there's nothing I can do to offer you. There's nothing I can offer you to stay. Because he knew the benefits, all that stuff. He knew I needed to go and, fly away, So it was like that type of thing, These are Italian men, and I'm a Spanish kid from the projects, but they took me in, and they molded me and they helped me. They never disparaged me. They never spoke down to me. We would say like racial jokes and stuff like that, but that's, in the game, in the business, that's what we do. You know what I mean? So, but I always knew that I had a respect from them, which was major for me. And then, so it's funny how it goes one into the other, right? So at this time, this is 2000, and before that.
But I think that's great, because here you are. I mean, it just shows like the story of, taking responsibility, eating the shit, and doing the work, and doing what you have to do, because here you are, right? Your mom cradled you, which is a normal thing that mom does. They baby you, they give you everything, blah blah blah. They, your underwears are clean, they wash, blah blah. And then here you are in the real world, and it's like boom, you're smacked with this thing, and it's natural. You don't know what to do. You're crying. You got babies on the way, all this stuff, and then now this guy is teaching you and molding you and becoming like one of your biggest mentors and teachers without you even realizing it until down the road. Which I can relate, because I had a boss like that in Crescent, and Raphael. We didn't mesh well, and this guy was an asshole a lot of times to me, and I feel like if I didn't kiss the ring finger, like I was just like shunned. But I could go on and on, but I always credit that he made me better as a project manager and as a worker, because all these nitpicky things or his asshole ways, he taught me to be on top of my shit.
And now you start realizing I'm doing those things.
Exactly. I remember one of the biggest pieces. Yes.
Because you learned that nitpick made sense.
And even like my brother too. And I remember one of the biggest advice that he gave me. I use this a lot, like when I do stuff. Like I remember he asked me, did you get the pricing on this? I'm like, no, they didn't get back to me. He was like, okay, did you email them? I said, I did. And they didn't get back to me. He's like, did you follow up with an email? I said, no, I was going to do that. He said, okay, did you call them? I said, no, I didn't call them. I thought they was going to call me. And a sarcastic, but in an asshole way, he said, you know what, Rick? Don't let someone's destiny be in there. Don't let your destiny be in someone else's hands. And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? He says,
and you walk away going, destiny. What's he saying? I'm so
he's like, you're waiting around. You need something. You want something. And you're waiting around, waiting on somebody else.
Right.
You don't do that. You go after it. And I was like, this motherfucker, I hate him. Like, God damn, like, shut up. Like, leave me alone. I just want to, I don't want to be here. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he is so right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Go after it. Don't wait on other people. Like, be on top of it. And that's how I am. And it's funny. I took all those things and I applied to my work, but I also apply it to the things that I love, because there's a business side of it too as well. But if it wasn't for him, a lot of these things that I had to go through, that was anger, but then through this anger, I found this gold.
Yeah.
That was like,
yeah.
Well, if I didn't have this anger to fuel me and this asshole to fuel me, I wouldn't have found this, because I would have been at that job just not succeeding, because I would have. And your shoes like, I don't want to do this.
You felt like a lump of coal,
right?
You felt like a lump of coal. Then all of a sudden, that coal, when you compress it enough, it's gonna become a.
And
he
was never the type of person that gave you the flowers while you was there, but his silence and his head nod was his approval. So like, when I would go into his office, did you do this? Yes. And here's the numbers. Did you do that? Yep. And here's the follow-up and stuff. And his silence, he was just look, okay, I'll take it from here. Like, I already knew. I was like, got you, motherfucker. Yeah. But I was happy. I was like, wow, that's
awesome.
Like, he didn't ask for, like, he wasn't on top of me all the time. It just naturally, I already know what I'm dealing with, and I know what I want. So yeah, and then my brother, I always vent to him. It was like, his thing was always like, that's the way it is. Like, what are you gonna do? You got to do it. And I was like, you're the worst person to talk to right now, because I guess I wanted someone to like bring me in and like it was like, it's the way it is. What you want me to do?
But these guys, what they had to go through, to pave the way for us, and in that industry, because that industry is majority, white Italian men, and now we're jumping into it, and it's something that, as you're growing, you know what I mean? So like I said,
there's no holding hands in this industry.
No, there's none of that.
If you do, like, their holding hands is different. It's like, do this, do that. How you don't know it? I don't. I just started.
Yeah, I know. That's the same thing I was going through, and that's why I was struggling so much. I was like, I didn't know the material. I didn't know how to get this. I didn't know how to get that, and I felt worthless and useless. But I knew, and you know what? Now I know. Because I kept going back is why Tommy was respecting me, and why he started to confide in me, and why we would do jobs and stuff like that. And like I said, he was there. He went from,
you didn't give up on
a
yourself.
Mechanic, right? And he saw that too. He saw that, this kid is actually coming to work, and I know, and he knows that he was driving me crazy. He did that on purpose, to mold me. To mold me. So, now come 2002, and from 2002 to 2002, I'm going through a bad breakup, with my son's mom, and it's horrible. And Tommy's taking the brunt of it, because my work is suffering, everything's suffering, everything. I'm a mess, right? So, so now I have extra angst. I got to take care of a kid now by myself on the weekends with, co-parenting now, and I start doing stupid stuff at work. I start not showing up, or I start doing whatever. The biggest thing that the biggest change in my life, what made me turn totally around and stop the nonsense, is I was going through that breakup. I was dating some girl at the time. We were working at this guy's house, and he wanted me to put up a ceiling fan. I'm with Tommy and stuff. I put up the ceiling fan. Little old man comes to me. He goes, I especially bought this piece for the fan so it won't wobble. I'm like, all right, whatever, old man. What are you talking about? So I put the fan up, and then I put it with that little piece, and that thing wobbled, bro. I'm talking about like Atlanta wobble. Like, that thing was crazy. I was like, oh my God, this thing is the worst. So I took the piece out, and the fan would work, but all fans are gonna wobble a little bit. All ceiling fans wobble a little bit, because the ceiling is not fully straight. So anyway, not to bore you with the technical things of electrical, but you know what I mean. So I took that piece out and I put it in my pocket, and I was like, forget this thing. I'll just tell him I put it up, because it almost looks like it's not wobbling.
Yeah.
So we leave, and the weekend comes. It's Saturday. I remember I'm at the car show. I'm dating that girl, some girl from Queens, and we're at the car show, and I'm getting calls from Tom. So I pick up the phone. Yeah, I know what's going on. So I'm like, yo, what's going on? He's like, I'm over here in Howard Beach. Remember when we put up that ceiling fan, the old man? I said, yeah. He goes, did you put that piece he asked you for? And I was like, yeah, Tommy, I put that thing in. He goes, because this fan is wobbling. I was like, Tommy, all these fans wobble. Because I figured he would be on my side saying it wobbles. So he goes, Jess, did you put the piece? I said, yeah, it's in there. Don't worry about it. It's up there. Whatever. And I said, yo, these things don't wobble. So he's like, he's just adamant. I'm like, whatever, Tom, don't worry about it. I'll talk about it Monday. So I turn off the phone, the flip phone. So, and then, now I'm like, oh man, no, like this now bubble guts are coming. I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. I feel like
Tommy knows.
I didn't turn in my, book report, for sister Ann. And I'm like, oh man, this is not going well. So he calls me back again. If I go up there and take the fan down, would I find that piece in there? I'm like, yo, Tommy, don't even bother. Of course it's up there. Why would I lie to you? So I'm like trying to not let him go up there. So I'm like, yo, don't worry about it. Sure enough, he calls me again, like, I don't know, minutes later, maybe 20, 30 minutes later. I didn't answer the phone because I knew what is happening. So I let it go to voicemail. He called like 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I didn't pick up. And then he just left the voicemail. So I checked the voicemail. He goes, I never want you to work with me. Yo, he went all out. He went all out. And I was like, damn. Now I lost the trust in this guy. The guy that I was respecting, he was respecting me. He finally gave me. So it's almost like he didn't have any kids, but it's almost like his son just dissed him. You know what I mean? And lied to him straight to his face. So Monday comes, and I'm thinking I'm linked up with Tommy to go do. And Phil goes, you're going to go with Brian to go do some blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. I didn't think anything of it. I'll go with Brian. Went with Brian, and then Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday, and then Friday. And I'm like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, Monday comes. Again, another Monday. It's like 2 weeks I'm with Brian. Then Monday comes, and Phil goes, I want you to go over to Jamaica Avenue and go to that hip building that we're doing, and you're going to meet Tommy over there. So I'm like, oh, shit. All right. So I go over there. Now, mind you, I'm on public transportation. So I got to take public transportation all the way to my shop in Queens. And then I got to now take public transportation from there all the way to Jamaica. So I go Jamaica Avenue over there by Lefferts Boulevard. I'm not Lefferts, Hillside. So I go over there, and I knock on the thing. It's all boarded up. So I knock on the door, and Tommy opens the door, and he looks, and he goes, it's okay, I don't need you today. And he hangs, and he just closes the door. And I was like, shh. I was like, Tommy, can I just talk to you for a minute?
You're not my partner.
Yeah. He was like, yeah, that's exactly what I felt. Yeah, you broke my heart. Oh, you broke my heart, Fredo. So I was like, oh man, and I felt horrible. I felt terrible. And now I had to figure out how to make this up to this guy and how to do this. Long story short, we do start working together. We reconnect. We start, the confidence is there again, the trust. I still have that piece. This day.
Wow.
I have it in my every toolbox that I have. If I buy a new toolbox, that gets transferred over. Because it always reminds me never to lie to anyone about work. Be honest. And he told me that. He goes, if you don't finish something, be honest. Just don't say, oh, except for. He hated that. He would be like, yo, did you finish? Yeah, I finished, except that I have to do. No. Don't tell me except for. Just tell me, yo, I'm not done. I still got this to do, whatever. So he helped me with all that type of stuff. So 2002 starts coming around, and we're thick as thieves again. We tight and everything. I meet now my wife, Ivy, and she is. It's crazy how this happens. God is good, man. It's crazy how it happens. So your brother. Gets with this girl named Becky, and they get married, and now I'm going through that breakup, and I gotta move out, so I move into the basement of their new
he was there. Everybody was there. My sister was there.
Heartbreak Hotel, we called it.
You also call it like home relief. Home relief. you can start over again.
So I start living down there with Zayas, and I give it to it was a newly bought home for them. It was their first home together. They had just gotten married. It was 2001 when they got married. A week after 9/11, they got married. And then, so that January, right after, January of 2002, I move in there, and I give it to Becky, man, because she knew me but barely. You know what I mean? And she allowed me to be there and I was paying them rent and stuff like that. And then one day, I'm there, and her cousin comes over, and I'm like, oh man, who's this girl? I'm like, yo, man, she's cute. I like this girl, it's whatever. So we start talking and stuff, and she told me years later, she goes, when I spoke to you, the biggest thing that I saw in you is that your eyes were so sad. She said, you look so sad. And I'm a happy dude. Like, I'm always joking around. I didn't know that. Yeah. Like, I didn't know I was admitting that, like putting that out there. Yeah. I didn't know it, because inside I was sad. When I was by myself, I was sad, because I was going through a lot of stuff, So what ended up happening was, so we start talking and stuff, and, hey, this and that. And then I find out she's got a boyfriend. And I'm like, what a waste of time. What's going on
I
here?
cleaned my basement for nothing.
Yeah. I dusted off some stuff here. I was like, oh man, I said, of course, that's my luck and stuff. So anyway, we start talking and stuff. Then your brother and Becky like, oh, she's with someone. I said, yeah, I know. And Angel's like, so what? I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not breaking anybody up. I said, and I'm not a very confident dude in myself. So I'm like, I don't know who she with, but I don't think she's gonna be like, oh yeah, this is the guy I want to be with. So what ended up happening was eventually she does break up with this guy, and I remember when I heard about it. So I was like, all right, this is my move. It's time to make a move. I don't make moves. I'm not a move guy. I'm like, would you go out with me? Like that's me. Like, that's when I'm still very young and not knowing what to do. I was in a relationship for 10 years and now all of a sudden I get thrown into the outside world and having to meet people. What's funny about that is that weeks before I saw this girl on the train and I was like, oh man, I would make this stuff for myself because I knew how many times you're going to see the same person on the train. It's very rare. Right? Yep. Very rare. So I said, if I see this girl again, I want to go up to her and say something. Cause it was a cop out. It was, I know I'm never going to see her again. Next day I saw her.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a gambling guy. So I'm like, man, I got to pay my debt to myself, which is dumb. You know what I mean? But I went up to her and I was like, hey, how you doing? I said, I don't do this. I know that's a line, but truly I don't do this. I said, I just wanted to say how pretty you are. And I wanted to know if there was any possibility that you and I could grab a cup of coffee, which I don't drink coffee. Yeah. I'll drink anything at that point. You know what I mean? And she's like, oh, I love coffee. You want coffee? We got coffee. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh, ew, this is so nasty. But, I'm like, maybe we'll grab a sandwich or something. Yeah. And she was like, oh, that'd be nice, man. I was like, whoa, all right, look at me. I'm like, yeah, buddy. And I'm like, oh, dusty from work. I'm like a mess, And she's like, but she probably saw like, oh, this is a working dude. What I mean? Like, how many girls actually get, the suave dude. And it's like, he ain't got no job, like that's his clothes that he goes out to hunt.
Yeah.
So I start, I dated her, and this girl was half Puerto Rican, half Jamaican. And it was crazy because she was a baseball fan. A serious baseball fan. Like, she was like, do you mind if we go to the sports bar? Because the Giants, she was a San Francisco Giants fan, and they were in the playoffs that year, 2002. And she goes, you mind if we go to the thing to watch the thing or whatever? It's like October. And I'm like, yeah, all right, that's fine. That's great. So we start dating and stuff like here and there. Like, it was like once every other week or something like that, because I forget what she did, but she had her own house. Like, she was a professional.
You picked a great one from the lineup out of the whole train.
Exactly. So I'm like, wow, this is there it is. I'm great. And I told her about Zayas. I have a son. And she was like, oh, that's so nice, and blah blah whatever. So now I meet Ivy a little bit after that, and I'm dating this girl, and then all of a sudden, now I tell Ivy like, oh, now I have to make the move to Ivy. So I'm taking her home in Angel's truck because I didn't have a car. So I take her home, and like, I'm so nervous because we're talking, but in my head, I'm like, I gotta just ask her out, man. Just ask her out. We're talking. So I pull up to her apartment, and like, I look at her, and her description of it is hilarious because I don't know what I looked like, right? But she does. Yo, she said, that my eyes were wide open. I was like, would you like to go to dinner? Would you mind? And she was like, yeah, I would love to go. And then I was like, oh, it's so cool. And I, like I was like so like relieved with it. And then it was done. So then after that, so we made a date, right? So we were like, oh, let's make it this day. And then she calls me and she's like, oh, we can't make it that day. We already have made the plan. But then like a few days later, she goes, my friend is coming in from Seattle. I'm like, Puerto Ricans don't know people from Seattle. I said, what's she talking about? I said, yo, she blowing me off, man. It sucks. I was like, damn, man. So she goes, why don't we do it the Saturday after Christmas? I think it was like the 28th or the 27th or something like that. So I was like, all right, that's cool. We do that. So whatever, we went. So we went on our first date. And that was a spectacle, man. I was a mess. I was so nervous. I drank too much.
Yeah. You tell me about
Dude, I drank way too much. I threw up in her mother's bathroom. Yeah. And this girl, how she's my wife to this day is incredible because what ended up happening after that. So we start dating. Yeah. And we're seriously dating now.
No way. Explain that first date though.
Okay. So we go. Okay. So first of all, I'm late. Because I fell asleep on the train because I was so tired. I worked 12 hours. I was dead tired. I bought her flowers. I jumped on right there, Westchester Square. There was a flower shop. I got the flowers. I jumped on the train, went all the way down. I missed. We were supposed to meet at Bleecker, and I missed the freaking stop. I had to come back. So whatever. So I get there, and she's talking to a dude. Right, some guy is standing there talking to her, and that's just who she is. She just talks to anybody that would talk to her. So this guy's like approached her and I show up and he's like, okay, I'll see you. So I thought it was somebody she knew or whatever, or like a friend of a friend or something. I say, oh, that's, whatever. So she goes, this guy, he was talking about going to a spanking party and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah. I was like, wow, that was weird. And she was like, where were you? And I was like, I'm sorry, I fell asleep on the train. I was like, this is like the worst first date. I'm like, I already started wrong. So she takes me to an Indian restaurant because we were talking about it. And I always say, yeah, I'm good with food. I'll try anything. And like I said, when it comes to girls, like what you want to eat? You want to eat alligators and, and ostrich eggs? Sure, no problem. So she took me to this place and she ordered for me because I was like, I don't know. The last thing I needed to do was get like some fire thing. And I'm like, like you see in the movies and stuff. So she ordered for me. I ate the food and we're drinking wine and stuff. And I'm like trying to be all sophisticated and drinking wine. I don't know anything about wine.
That's hilarious.
And I'm really pounding this thing down because I'm so nervous. And I see her pounding it down too. And I'm like, all right, we're good here. Yeah, we both. So she goes, you want to go to this lounge, hang out? Yeah, no problem. Let's go to the lounge. We go to the lounge. And now I'm ordering Bahama Mamas. I'm like, I'm trying to be cool. Wine and Bahama Mamas. So I'm like, I'm gonna Bahama. And she's like, I'm just gonna get whatever. And like she got a little thing, and I'm boom. Like I'm like, this is me. I'm good. Whatever. I start feeling the edges off now. So like I'm like real cool and calm. And then we go to another spot and order more drink. And then we go to another spot. And then I start realizing I'm like, man, this girl knows her way around these places, man. Like, what the hell? Like, she is really out there. And she's telling me that she goes to concerts. She was following certain bands, these Spanish rock bands and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. And then the cold hits me because it's December. We go outside and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sweating, but it's cold. And I'm like, oh my God. We go to this final place, which is like in a dungeon. This thing is like, it's on Central Park West. And we go down and whatever. And everywhere we went, people were like, hey, how you doing? Hey, girl. I was like, yo, this girl knows everybody, but that's who she is. You know what I mean? Like everywhere she went, people just knew her and like the really nice girl that's always around. So hanging out and stuff. So, she was from young all the way to, we're only 24 at this point, 25 or something like that. So now we come out. She's like, oh, we go to your house and, let's get some DVDs. My mother lives right by here, blah, blah. Cool. We go over there. We get to the house and she goes, I'm going to use the bathroom. You pick whatever DVDs you want, whatever. I'm looking through the DVDs. And then I made the worst mistake you could ever make when you're crazy drunk. I put my head down and closed my eyes. Bro, everything was spinning. I thought I was on a merry-go-round. I was like, oh, no. And I'm like, oh, no. And I'm a throw-up guy. I am a throw up guy. When it comes to being sick and when it comes to being drunk, I will throw up. So I start feeling it. I'm like, please, man, let me just get home. I'll tell her to stay here. Like, I gotta work in the morning because I have to work in the morning. So I was like,
crazy.
I said, let me just, try. And she's like, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, oh, I gotta use the bathroom. And she was like, you okay? And like, she just sees me and she sees it. I'm like, man. And she goes, yeah, you can use the bathroom. And I go in there and I'm like, bro, she comes in, she gives me a cup of water, she's rubbing my back, and I'm like, this is so embarrassing. Like in my head, I'm like, oh God, this sucks.
I just ruined it.
She takes me home. She calls a cab. We go out, we grab a yellow cab. We both go, we come home. So I tell her to this day, I'm like, yes, that was my play, yo, to get you my house, yo. I said, yo, I was just playing that whole time. Yeah, you fell for it. I was like, but yeah, I was bad.
What do you think made her do like a second date? Like,
man,
because I would understand that, like, if I was in your shoes, like, I blew this. Like,
we had a crazy connection from when we first started talking. And we would just, before we started talking, how people say, oh, I'm talking to this. No, we literally will have conversations about her life, my life, how we grew up, which is normally the same. We're all Spanish and Black people pretty much grew up the same, with the exception of certain foods. Everything else is pretty much the same. So, so I guess she already knew, she already knew in her heart and in her mind that she wanted to be with me. And then what ended up happening was the dumbest thing I ever did. 2003 comes around, we're dating and stuff, and I make a bad move, just a bad move. And she is like so fed up with me. And again, I was still dealing with the whole breakup from before. So I was really messing things up left and right. And she's done. She said, yo, I'm done. And I can't do it anymore. She's like, it's just too much. You're putting me through too much and all this stuff. She was like, and she told me, she goes, and I'm so mad that you got me so close to your son, because, I love him. And no, you know what? Oh, yeah. And then she told me she loved me. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I already had told myself I didn't want to get into another relationship like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm loving somebody again. But I knew I started feeling that for her. And that's what made me scared. So I ran away from it. And then that's when I did the stupid move. And then she told me, forget it. She didn't want to do it anymore. And I had to almost pretty much beg my way back.
Yeah.
And I kept calling her, I'm sorry. I said, and I had ordered her some fixtures for her new apartment and all this stuff. So they came in and I went to put them up for her. She could have gotten anybody else to do it. So I knew, I know now that she wanted to give me another chance,
right.
So I did that, I put the stuff up for her and we were talking, and then finally we started to come back together again. And thank God, man. Thank God, because she has been an incredible, she gave birth to the next 5 of my children. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be back, in the Catholic Church together like we are. It's an incredible journey that we've been a part of. And like I told her, I said, I want you to be a part of this part, to talk about this together, because that is, how you have certain parts to your life.
Yeah.
You have your childhood, you have your adolescence, and then you have your adult life. Well, I had 2 different adult lives. And this one is incredible only because I am partnered with the best person I've ever met in my life, and she is she calls me her rock. She's like a boulder to me, man. Like, she keeps me grounded. She keeps me there. She is, besides being beautiful and loving, she is that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain what that is, but she is it.
Yeah, I always said that, like, you guys were my favorite people in the family. Just because the way you guys talk, like, the connection was there. And like if I would introduce people to the family, it was like, and if I knew you guys were gonna be there, like, you guys would be the first introduction I had, because you guys, were just down to earth, humble. Not saying that everybody else was, but you guys, like, I don't know, there was something about you guys in the energy that you guys you wanted to know more, like, genuinely about that person, and gave support and stuff like that. And I just, like, gravitated to that. And I felt like in a sense like you guys were like these cool parents.
Yeah.
Like in a sense
Yeah.
to me, like
Yeah.
even though you
Yeah.
was cousins,
Right.
but like you gave the cool dad and mom vibe, like
Right.
almost like Ricky, you keep doing it, you
Yeah.
keep doing
Yeah.
the acting, you keep doing the comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, like
Yeah.
or
When I
like
found out you were doing, I remember when you were in college and you told me, you were dating somebody at the time. You were at the house, at
yeah,
Don's house, and we're hanging out and stuff. And I was like, yo, so what are you doing and stuff? And you were like, oh, I'm trying to be a stand-up comedian and stuff. And I was like, wow, like I grew up watching all the great stand-up
I didn't know
comedians.
none of that.
You know what I
You
mean?
yeah.
Like I grew up with Carlin and Buddy Hackett and
Mhm.
all these guys from the 70s, 80s, and 90s and stuff, and all the way from when Chappelle was 15, 16
Mm.
years old, watching all that stuff, Jerry Seinfeld and Leno, like watching all that stuff, that was my thing.
Mm.
You know, that's what helped me to come out of my shell,
Mm.
by telling jokes. I would,
Yeah.
rip off jokes from the comedians, or like just be a funny guy, not intentionally, but just talking and being
Yeah.
funny and stuff like that. That's how we mostly are, as family and stuff. We always joking around and stuff. But when I heard you say that, I was like, wow. I was like, man, that's great. And I
Mhm.
told you, I was like, man, that's yo, props and respect.
Yeah,
And I
it's funny.
hope
Yeah, because
that
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 was
goes well.
that was the first time I would say that someone was uh interested more. Okay, like how can I put? Okay, you Don and Victor had the music,
Right,
right?
right.
You had the baseball, and then you had your sister, and like so that was like my connection with you. It was like you shared your story with comedy. I was like,
Yep.
I didn't know
Yeah.
comedy was that deeply rooted in you.
Oh yeah.
Everybody else in the family was like, I watch it, it's funny,
Right.
but there wasn't like a mutual appreciation and
Oh
a
yeah.
connection to it
Oh
that
yeah.
was deeper than just the jokes. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. Then I talked to Ivy, and it was similar, and she loved music, so our thing was the music.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. She was amazed that you play guitar, and she was she's a violinist,
yeah.
and she I mean, when she wants to, she'll play the crap out of that thing.
Mhm.
Like she needs time to get back into it, but since she was a little girl, she was a violinist and she's good at it. And now, in the past year or so, maybe 2 years, she's been teaching herself the guitar,
Mhm.
and she's done it. And she sits there every once in a while. Matter of fact, a couple of days ago, the baby, we just had Emma a month and a half ago. So Emma's laying down in the crib in the bassinet, and Ivy's in the living room sitting there with her guitar, and she's singing Christmas songs, like just to
Mhm.
herself. And I'm like, wow, man, she's amazing. Like, I'm
Mhm.
like, I've always wanted to play an instrument and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Like right now, we got the Naya's in choir. Lucas is learning the piano and stuff like that. And he's in like a little choir. We always push that on the not
Mhm.
push that up, but like told them like, you guys can play the instruments and stuff like that and blah blah. But amazing how she was able to do that. She was able to teach herself the guitar and play it
Mhm.
and I'm like, wow, I know that song.
Yeah.
For me, that I'm not a musical person.
Yeah.
If I recognize something, that means you're doing something
Mhm.
right. Because I
What
recognize
was
it.
like a big thing that you learned from Ivy that helped you in your life?
What helped me, okay, so she's a person that she doesn't need to be in, like, how do I explain this? She can go out and do anything.
Mm.
She can go out and do anything. She's had many jobs since she was like 15 years old. From being a graphic designer, for when I met her, she was a graphic designer for science journals and all that type
Mm.
of stuff. And then she used to work for Kaplan Publishing, which is like the SAT books and all that type of stuff. Like, putting books together. How all that stuff that we don't know about. It's
Yeah.
like the book is there. You know what I mean? Like, I remember she worked on a book about Babe Ruth, and she
Mm.
brought it to me, and her name is on it.
Mm.
And I remember going to Baltimore with my buddy Louis, who we go stadium hopping all over the place. So far we've done the east side, eastern seaboard and stuff. And we went into Baltimore, and Babe Ruth is from Baltimore. That's where he was born and raised. And we went into the museum, and that book is there.
Oh wow.
And I was able to open. I was like, look, check this out.
Mhm.
And he was like, oh snap. It was like Ivy, like, and it was like I was proud of that, you know. And she worked on a book about Richard Pryor.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. She, I mean, but again, it's not that she had any contact with these people, but she put the book together.
She put herself out there.
She put the lines on, you know, like she made sure everything was right. However, you know, like I don't even know what I'm talking about right now as far as her job, what she used to do. But she used to design the books, basically, you know, put everything together, the page numbers, and put all the lines and make sure everything was right and, you know, square and everything was. So she's always been computer savvy, stuff like that. But the main thing about her is, for me, is that she was able to teach me you can do more. You can do more. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay sound.
And don't be afraid of change.
And don't be afraid. Man, let me tell you, man, because I am afraid of change. And she is not. And she helped me to not be afraid of change. I'm still afraid of change now, but because she's there for me. You know, she helps me through that change, you know. So now we're dating, and 2003, I read in the paper that the, you know, the city's looking for electricians. So I told her about it, and I was like, man, but I'm not gonna be able to go get the thing. I don't want to take the day off and lose the pay, blah blah. She went and got it for me, the application, brought it. I filled it all out. I was like, you know, I gotta get the money order. She got the money order, and she brought it back to the place, and she put it in for me. And then I get the card saying that I'm gonna take a test in 2000, like end of 2003. I take the test. I don't hear from them again until 2006. And sure enough, it comes, and I'm like so comfortable at the job I'm in. I'm making good money. You know, I don't have the benefits, but you know, when you're 20 something, you're like, benefits, I'm not even gonna get hurt. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think about anything like that. And at the time I'm with her, so the kids have her medical from the job that she's at. So I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to go. She was like, this is gonna be good for you. You kill yourself. You work 6 days a week, 12-hour days, 13. You know, sometimes you come here at 9, 10 o'clock at night. So anyway, I take the job. What ended up happening was my license was suspended at the time. And in any city job, they won't take you because of that. So I lost that part. So I'm like, oh man. So I'm a mess now. And now I already told my boss that I'm leaving July 11th. So now July 11th comes, and I'm like, I gotta go, because now I'm gonna look stupid if I say, can I stay here because I lost my job? So I didn't do it. And I wound up getting like little jobs here and there just to make money or whatever. But then, just like when you were telling me what Raphael was saying, you got to go out there. You got to make those calls. She told me, she goes, you got to make them sick of you. You got to make them remember your name. When another list comes up, they're going to say, oh, this Jesse Marrero keeps calling, asking about if he could get back on. So what ended up happening was I was doing that. And she would tell me, go down there, go to Borough Hall, and go check out what's going on. And I went, and sure enough, maybe a month later, they called me back, and they were like, and I was like, yeah, I got my license. It's good. It's blah, blah, blah. And they were like, you know, all right, good. You know, you could come. And then I got it. And I've been there 14 years, you know, and like I said, you know, she's also responsible for so many things. We have traditional old school life. You know, I go out, I work, I make the money, I bring it home. She's a stay-at-home mom. She takes care of the 6 kids. You know, now my son's 22. He's on his own. He's doing his thing. But you know, the other 5 are there, and she also now ventured into true homeschooling. That she totally took them out of school, except for my oldest daughter, because she only has 2 years left of high school. So we were like, all right, we'll leave her, but the little ones are gonna be all homeschooled. But that's her. That's her. Like she's not afraid, but she is cautious. She is weary of things that may go wrong. And she always comes to me with it. Hey, you know, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? Like we have something that my parents and a lot of parents of yesteryear don't have, is communication. We have that communication. Like if something's wrong, she just straight up tells me, like she's not feeling right, what's going on, all this stuff. And like I said, you know, we're practicing Catholics, And when she felt the call of God saying that he wanted her to go back to the church, she did. And she would just invite me, and
Mm.
and I kept saying, nah, I don't want to do that. I went to
Yeah.
Catholic school, and all that stuff went over my head. I
Yeah,
don't care
yeah.
about that stuff, blah blah and stuff. And she left me alone. She never pushed me. She just kept inviting. And every Sunday she would go to church. She would take the kids with her, and I was there sitting there, watching TV with her. They would come back, and then one day they're leaving on a Sunday, and Zaya said, "Oh, how come Dad doesn't have to go? Well, he never has to go." And I want to stay. And I was like, oh, this guy's killing me, man. I'm gonna have to go now. So I went and stuff, and I'm like, well, I know if you Catholic, when you go to church, you know exactly what's gonna go on because it's been going on for 2,000 years. It's the same thing over and over again. And then something happened, and I started feeling it. And she tells me we're already married civilly, and she goes, I want to get married in the church. 2011, we want to get married. So I said, okay, fine. And I'm always like, whatever she wants, whatever she wants. Not because I'm a pushover, but because I want her. She deserves everything. She deserves everything. She's a girl that her story is incredible. I can't wait for you guys to talk to her because her story is incredible. The woman that she is today, with what's behind her. So I want to give her everything that she deserves, and she deserves everything. So I'm there, and then yes, we'll do the wedding, no problem. Then we start doing these pre-Cana classes where they start, talking to you about, being a husband and wife, and which is a great thing because people don't understand what it means to really be married. They don't understand what it means to be in a relationship, let alone being married. They don't understand. Like, the communication is just a 16th of what actually is going
like
on in this place.
So many layers.
Forget it. Yeah, man, it's so many things. And so we did that, and then 2012 it just hits.
Do you ever felt overwhelmed with so many things that you had to do, being a father, a husband, a worker, like, what I'm saying? How did you dealt with so many pressures of your life moving forward as you kept on getting older and having more kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know for me, sometimes I'm very hard on myself, and it is. And I remember just being like, when watching a, not a documentary, but it was a YouTube, somebody was saying, and it's true, like the moment like you become a father, like something just shifts, something just clicks, something just automatically connects. If you are that, it's in us, but if you allow it to activate,
exactly,
because there's a lot of guys that the deadbeats
right, that don't,
but it's all in us,
it,
and we're capable to do it.
And it's a fight because like I said, I got friends that are married, and I got friends that were single and raised kids. And like I said, like I can only speak as a man and as a father. It does click in you, and if you fight it, that must be a big fight, man. It must be a big fight. I'm not um giving those dads that are deadbeats and stuff a way out, but I know it must be a fight because we as men, we just know how to, it's just in us how to be a man, how to be a father. It's just in us. You just had a kid, and it just happened. You know what I mean? Like, you could prepare all you want, you could read those books, what to expect when expecting. You could do all that stuff, man, and it's not
the same as when it actually
and again
happens.
It's a good thing that those stories are out there, so you can start to, it helps people to prepare and to know that you're not the only one going through things. There's women that go through postpartum, that really struggle. My mother struggled with postpartum, with all 4 kids. She had a C-section for the first one and the last one. Like, she was in a tough situation, and there was no help in those days, 60s and 70s. There was no help. It was just snap out of it. Es una cosa que tú tienes en la mente, that's the way it was. And it's just like, now, and I did that. I did that to Ivy one time on the first when she had Liani. because I was in that mentality, and she was going through some tough time, and I was just like, come on, just snap out of it, stop it, you can do it, and I thought I was being motivational. I was being dumb. I was being dumb. I was being negative, and I was being a worse thing for her. And I was not being her man. I was not being her husband. I was not being her rock. I was being a douche, totally. And I know that because we spoke about it. And when we went to one of those classes right before we were getting married, we went to this retreat on a weekend, and there you have to write down all these things. It's such a great experience. Angel and Becky did it, and I wish more people would do it. I want to invite more people to do it, because it really is an incredible experience, because it helps you to communicate, and it helps you to know the person that you're with, and the person to know you. So one of the things was, what's something it was something to the effect of, what is something that your partner did or has done that got you upset, or something like that. And she brought that up, and we were already on our third kid, and this was way past. So that was in her, and she was crying as she wrote it. And because you have to write everything down, and then you give it to your partner, and then you read hers and she reads yours, and I'm reading that, and I'm like, wow. It was like when it's in writing, and when you see her emotional and crying, and I was just like, damn, man. Again, I want to give her everything, and I just became another splinter in her foot, and I felt bad. I felt horrible, because I want to protect her. I want to be her, I want to be the one to, hey, when I hold you, you're safe. And she's told me that before, and that's incredible.
But to your credit, not to defend you, but that's your first time. Like, I'm not aware of a lot of these things, and like we're hearing it from a different perspective. We're seeing it from a different perspective. Exactly. We're like, well, you'll be all right. You'll be fine. It's just a phase. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know what it is to be in their steps. Yeah. And they're like, if we allow them, they're teaching us and showing us that this is a thing, and so I could understand your side, and then I could understand her side too. Like, and especially when you're dealing with it, how that can affect you harder because they're seeing the difference. Like,
I had to learn her, what she's going through. And that her pain is my pain. And not that I take it to suffer, I take it to help her. Let's talk about this. So what we learned from that time, and we haven't done it in a while, and I really want to go back to it, but we write each other letters about what's going on in our lives, and talk, hey,
that's great, because I feel like I remember we communicate. I said, like, through the podcast, we was like, write emails, like, with everything, because I feel like when we're just talking, you forget a lot of things. Or it goes over your head, or blah blah blah. But when we're writing it out, it's there, it's recorded. No one can say, I don't know about that. Like, no. And like, you actually have to take the time to read it. So I love that you write letters.
We literally write for Christmas one year, I bought her a journal, and I bought myself a journal, and we swap them, like we write stuff out and we give it to each other. And it's like, it could be love letters. It could be, hey, I'm struggling with this. Hey, I haven't been praying enough. I need help with it. Like, just things that are happening in your mind. And again, I work nights, so I'm not home a lot, and, at the right times. So we're kind of on off schedules. And it's funny because she and I've been going, with this, we've been together now 18 years from dating to now. So you're talking about, it's like we're not with each other a lot. We miss each other, so we enjoy each other more. Now, I'm not saying everybody, hey, go get a night job and go leave your house for a little while. Go leave your house for a while and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is, because of the situation that we're in, I think it helps us, because even through this COVID time, as an electrician, I had to be out there. I had to be working and doing my thing. And I didn't have the luxury of being home. But maybe that would have been bad. maybe it would have been bad for me to be in each other's face all the time. I'm home every weekend, with the kids, helping out. We got a newborn, so really try to alleviate her time, because 5 days a week she's on it all the time, barely sleeping. You know how it goes. But those little things is what drives me for her, because like I said, besides wanting everything for her, I want to be everything for her. Like, and I know, because I know she's everything for me, and I tell her that all the time. And like I said, it's like, it's incredible that I look at her, and it's love all the time. Like, I just see her and I go, God, you're so beautiful, and I'm in love with you all the time. I have to, because not that I'm sugaring her and trying to, you got guys like, yeah, you tell your wife that you're good for another year. Nah, man, do it all the time, man. Tell her how you really feel. Like, just I I don't like tooting my own horn, but every once in a while I'll throw flowers on the table. And she'll see them. She's like, oh, you bought those? And yeah, I was in the supermarket. They were there. It's nothing, fancy, but whatever. It is what it is. But it's just to acknowledge her, and she does little things. She is taking care of a home. She's taking care of kids, and she's taking care of the bills. She does all that stuff. We have what we have because of her. I may have made the money, but she put the money to work. She got us the house, the first house that we had. Then we had, more kids, and we expanded and we got a bigger home, and, so she put all that together. But the little things, I come down from sleeping, because I got to, take a nap, and then I go to work, and I'm come down, everybody's sleeping. I come down to the kitchen, and there's a plate of food there waiting for me to put in my bag, and boom, I take it to work, I come home, and she's like, go to bed, go take a nap. You know what I mean? Because that's who she is. That's who we are to each other. We're there for each other, and we are like, man, I mean, I'm telling you, it's gross sometimes. People are like, damn, man, it's like, why we got 6 kids? Exactly. Because I love my wife, and we love each other. We love each other. And, those people that don't have a lot of kids, not that you don't love each other, it's that we express ourselves, obviously. And this is, what we've gotten. And, like I said, being Catholic, we're pro-life, and, with kids and all that stuff. And it's not, people go, because it's true. When you have 1 or 2 kids, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough,
you guys
man.
Have 6, man.
Yes. But you know what it is? When you have another one, it's just another one. It truly is. It's hard in the beginning, but eventually it's gonna go. I mean, we were talking about, and you were like, when is it? When
it gets better. It gets better. I'm like, when? I need a date.
Because
July every 11th? Baby's different. And it was like, oh, mine was like 3 months. I was like, well, no, I'm on 6 months right now.
Well, we had a couple that were in bed by 2 months, they're all night, like that type of. And this so far, it's been a month and a half, and she's still up and doing, whatever. She sends me pictures in the morning, of her sleeping, all the stuff, and it's like, it's a joy. But now that we have this technology of talking to each other on the phone, like I get to see my wife in the morning. I don't get that. You know what I mean? I don't get to wake up next to my wife in the morning, except for Saturday, Sunday and Monday mornings, But other than that, like, I get to see her, and I'm like, wow, hey.
Well, I think that works great with your guys' dynamic, because there's time to miss each other, and and you don't run out of. I mean, you have things to talk about. You know what I'm saying? So it's
sometimes nothing to talk about.
Oh, nothing to talk.
Sometimes
which is great.
we just there.
Enjoy the company.
Yeah, we're just there, and it really is nice.
Yeah, because what is left? What is left to talk about after 20 years? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes I say that, I'm like, I think we talked so much that like, I mean, I'll let her know. I was like, if something drastic happened at work, you're gonna be the first person to know. But if nothing, work is the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, you're the first person.
She'll still ask me, how was work? How was work last night? And I'm like, oh yeah, same old. It was good. This same old little things.
Yeah, same old.
And it's like, but you know what it is.
But then I'm like, yo, Jerry tripped and they fell. Like, she'd be the first person. Like, and then how was everything else?
That's what I do. Hey man, you know what I heard this thing that. Like, I'll jump on it and tell her that. And that's another thing. Like, I try to call her when I start thinking about things, because then I'll forget when I get home. And then when I get home, it's like, how was this? And I'm like, oh, it's fine. And then when I'm driving to work later on, I'm like, oh man, I could have told her that story. It's such a funny story. And then by the time I come back, I forgot it again. So yeah, so you know, you're like, and now, you know, being home, you understand that you want interaction from outside. Yes.
Yeah.
So you want an adult to say, yeah, you don't want to hear ba, da, ba, ba, da, da, ba, 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 ba. And that's what we, you know, we got. So now we
That's what it
have,
feels like. So how is it out
yeah,
there?
yeah. Oh, are there people out there? It's not just you.
Is the air
Yeah.
still smell good?
Yeah. Oh my
Do they
goodness.
sell sandwiches still at the store?
It's so, listen, that is such a true statement.
Yeah.
And I've gotten that from my wife, that you could tell that she's like, you know, we have a 16-year-old. That's as adult as she gets until I get home. What's a 16-year-old? She don't want to talk to you, first of all. 16-year-olds don't talk, girls don't talk. And she wants to be stuck in her room doing her, you know, she does her work, you know, her online school, and then she does her homework. And then like she's just wants to be alone. You know what I mean? Being a girl. And so my wife understands that. I don't. I'm like,
Yeah.
get out of your room and come downstairs. And she's like, she just so whatever. But when I get home, that's why I want to do more for her. Like I want to talk to her. I want to stay. I want to hang out with the boys. You know, they doing something rambunctious or whatever. I'm like, yo, why don't y'all calm down? Do it, you know, whatever. And you know, play a board game with Naya or something. It's like because I also I wanna have normal too. You know, I'm tired of work.
Yeah.
I'm tired of always working. You know, not that I wanna. Of course, you know what? I don't want to work. Nobody wants to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants to work. Even if you have the best job, nobody wants to work. I have a great job. I get paid well, and I have what I have because of my job, and I thank God for that. And now that the times are getting tough again, you know, there's gonna be some layoffs, and there's gonna be things going on. I put everything in God's hands. There's nothing that I can do but pray and
Work
just
with work with it.
and work with it, and thank God that I have what I have right now, because tomorrow I may not have it.
Yeah.
You know, and going back to my brother, you know, he did not know that he didn't have tomorrow. You know what I mean? He passed away, and it sucked. It sucked as a family. To have my brother, my oldest brother, who was like a father figure to me. He was a great man. He was a humble man. He was a man that everybody knew, and he was a man that I knew that I wanted to be like him, you know. And the fact that he's not here, it sucks. It sucks big, and I thank God that I have my faith to back me up on this, and to help me to understand that my brother's in a good place now, and that, you know, my sister-in-law and my two nephews and my niece, who has 5 children of her own, you know, that they know that we have a tremendous family, a backing that is incredible. And it's tough right now for us, you know, especially during that time we weren't able to see each other. You know, we my Ivy and I put all the kids in the car that Saturday after he died. He died Holy Thursday at 3:25 p.m. And we drove to my brother Victor's house, and we just waved and say hello, you know, just to get some sort of grieving together. Went to my sister's house, you know, drove to her driveway, and you know, they both live, you know, 5 minutes from me. So just to get a little bit of something, you know, I wasn't able to hold my sister. I wasn't able to hold my brother-in-law and my brother, you know, and my nieces and stuff. And it was tough, man. It was really tough. But if it wasn't that I have my faith and my wife, I would don't know how I would have handled it, how I would have went through it, because you just don't know, man. You just it's the uncertainty of not being here. It's not even about me. It's my kids and my wife. You know, I'm not the greatest guy in the world, but I don't want her to be without me, because I don't want her to feel that pain. Again, she is everything to me. I want to give her everything. I want to be everything for her. So that scares me.
Yeah.
It scares me that I may not be here one day, you know, with her, or it scares me to death. It scares me crazy that she may not be here and I'm here. You know, I don't know, what my sister-in-law is truly going through. I hear her, I'm her ear and her shoulder to cry on, but I don't know what she's going through.
Right.
She was with him for over 30 years, and I met her when I was 11, and she's not just my sister-in-law, she's my sister. We've gone through problems, of course we have. All of us have, all of our brothers and sisters and in-laws, we've all had issues. you know my brother-in-law has been in the family since 1988. They just celebrated 32 years together. My sister-in-law over 34 years, and then my other sister-in-law has been around for over 20 something years, 25 years. So and Ivy's been around for 20 years, 18 years. And as a family unit, right now, we're a little dismembered. We're a little apart, and I hope one day to rectify that somehow, but my brother passing away was tough, man. It was tough on everybody, and I want to thank you for that bit you did on him. And that night, I remember going on Facebook, and I saw that you had put something up talking about the things that he did, calling you and talking to you about stuff. And I know he always supported you on your stuff, when you had the one-man show, and he was there. And having the job that I had, and the responsibilities, we always wanted to be there, but you sent it to us. We were able to watch it and send you,
But
like,
you guys,
wow.
I want to share something too, because you guys, the matter that I understood why you guys couldn't be there, but you guys were always like the biggest supporters to me, and I always appreciated. Just even like I remember like the text that you would send me about like being supportive and to keep on, that holds like there's memories that you have with your brothers that hold true to you, and like I don't know why I remember that. There's memories of you and Ivy that I'll think of, because it helped me a lot to keep going. It showed me a lot, and like it just was very like a push. Like I remember you watching one of the shows, and the text was like, "Yo, Rick, I'm taking a shit right now, hiding from the kids, so I can watch your show." I know, I just like, wow, this guy. It was hilarious, but I was like, this guy's actually taking the time from his family to watch this, and like play by play writing, yo, this part by hilarious. And like, and Ivy would text me separately, because I guess that was her shift now to watch it. So, but it was like, wow, like that meant a lot to me. You didn't even have to be physically there, but you taking the time to do that and to be genuinely involved was like everything. And then touching on Don, like what I learned from that, of course, is one of these things that is the cliche thing: you hear today, gone tomorrow. But one thing that you don't realize is like the love that, because I always said like our family is just naturally separated. It's just a natural thing. I don't feel like if we, whatever God or a higher power you believe in, I don't think we all came together and say, hey, when we come down to live this life, we want to be separate. It's just something that happened, that
we just grew up separate.
We just grew up separate. But if something happened, we'll pick up the phone. You good?
Yeah.
All right, man. All right. Talk to you 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it was no hard feelings.
As you grew up, we would see you guys twice a year. It was your birthday, and it was like in the summertime when my father would have vacation, we would drive up there. We were in the Bronx, y'all were in Brooklyn. And that was like an eternity away. You know what I mean? It was like it was a big deal to go to Brooklyn. Like my dad would pack us up, and we would go visit Mama, and then you guys were down the block. We would visit you guys, or y'all would come over. And like me and Nana, your sister, we the same age. We grew up together. And then all of a sudden you came along. And we would show up for the parties, but we didn't grow up together. We didn't know each other. You know what I mean? Like that's like Anthony, cousin Ant. He's older than me. We didn't grow up together. He's closer in age than me, but Janet is 1970. I think Anthony's 72, and I'm 77. But he lived in Queens. You know what I mean? And we we just weren't that type of family.
Yeah.
We didn't even party together.
Yeah.
Like we didn't do a lot of stuff. Like it was when you came, your mom would throw parties and we will be there for it. You know what I mean? And that was it.
And even like cousin Ant, I got closer to him as I got older when I was living in the Bronx.
Right.
And he was supportive too. And I saw this other side of him. And our connection was music.
Right. Until we got older is when we started to realize, like again, like with my brother and I, we didn't have anything. We lived in the same apartment and we didn't have any contact with each other. And then all of a sudden, when we got older, and that's what ends up happening.
And Don, we got close as I got older. Even like we worked together. Like I knew like he would come once a year or whatever to do these visits, and then he was always funny and stuff like that. And the music, I know you got to go soon.
Oh yeah.
But but I felt like we got closer as we got older, and it was the music that connected us. And then he ran, and what touched me so much about him is that he showed up to the shows to support. Like I told him I'm doing this, right?
Right.
But everyone says, yeah, go check it out, right? And he didn't tell me that he was coming, blah blah, and he was there, and I was like, holy crap, like that meant a lot to me. And one thing that I learned from all of this, of course, is that you're here today, you're gone tomorrow, but just enjoying those moments whenever you had them, and cherish those memories, because it was something that just, of course, you hearing on the news everyone's going, but you wouldn't think it was going to be one of yours. And I think another thing that I learned too was like that, the natural love that you have for people. Like for instance, like I instantly cried. I didn't know, like I wasn't with him every day, right? But I was close enough with him that I did love him, and he did have left a mark on my life.
Right.
That if someone would tell me the other day, were you really close to Don? I was like, we was close enough. We talked, we worked together. He support me. I got love of him, but I didn't know that extent once something like that happened. And then even like it hit me even harder too. It's like, man, we had plans for him to be on the show. And I remember when I was when I had you to do this, and I said, can you do it today or whatever? Because it automatically hit me, reminded me of Don.
Right.
When I said, well, we'll do it down
Later
the road,
on,
and the COVID thing happened, and was well, even after that. And then I had you to do this interview, and I'm like, man, it was great because Jesse's one of my favorites. I get to know his life more, and we just get to chat. And I felt this urge, and I even text my wife. I was like, no, we should do it today. This is not going to be another.
Remember you text? I was like, oh man, I wish I could. I said, but
I was like,
do it in 2 weeks, and then like I felt like I was like, wow, why me? You know what I mean? Like I was like, well, okay.
But 2 weeks for me, like I understood. I was like, I understood it, but 2 weeks for me, like I was nervous because not to say no, God forbid, nothing's gonna happen, but I did. But even by saying God forbid, I don't know. Like everything's
it's
going
still that back there that you're thinking about. Man, I had an opportunity with my cousin, and I get it.
And I'm like, this could be. I don't want this to be another case, but I just don't. Maybe me. Maybe I don't know, my wife. Something happened.
Right.
So definitely that was I learned a lot through Don, and I even cherished a lot of those moments when we had these one-on-ones at work where this was my chance to ask him more about music.
Yes.
Why didn't you go forward with this?
Yeah.
What happened here?
Their story,
what was that? And the guy was so honest.
Their story is incredible. What they did.
Why certain things didn't happen. Why things did happen. What was his thing? And then I think what I love more is not just only the music, but who he was as a person.
Yep.
And that affected me. And I learned through him too, just showing up to work.
Yeah.
And I think I told him, I don't know if I did tell him, but a big key for me, it was like, she's like, yo, so when you was doing all these shows, did you have a 9-to-5 job? He's like, yeah.
Yes, he did.
And that was something that connected with me so much because my brother used to be a DJ and eventually gave that up to pursue to work and do our stuff. And here I am face to face with someone with a similar story as mine, entertainment, but never gave up the 9-to-5. Not because he didn't want to. It's just like, but if an opportunity came, he would have. He's just like, I love both. I do both.
Yep.
And I had to do, one thing doesn't last forever. I had the other thing.
And now that was the one thing, many things about Don is that he was a man that, he would just do it. You know, he was comfortable. Another guy like that, like just comfortable. He didn't need to move somewhere. You know, like right before he passed away, his job moved, and he hated it. He was like, "Oh man," because he was like right down the block from his house. Like, you know, he was like, you know, a couple miles away from his house, and now they moved him all the way to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about it, and he was like, "Yo, man, it's gonna suck. I know this, you know, the traffic or stuff." And he always worried about those little things or whatever. And I told him, I said, "Don, God got your back. Don't worry about it. Just relax."
And we got closer. We got closer, like I said, as we got older. But I also appreciated the random calls that I would get from him. I don't know. We reached them. We reached a point in our relationship.
Those voicemails.
Yeah. You know what's so funny? Oh man, I teared up the other day. I looked. I had like it says my voicemail was like it was full, right? All my voicemails, my phone or whatever. And I was like, I haven't checked my voicemails in years or whatever.
Who leaves voicemails?
Yeah.
Don left voicemails. Who leaves
Don
voicemails?
and my mom. Ricky, did you eat?
Exactly. Yeah. Pick up their phone.
Yeah.
No, it's not the way it works.
Yo, I got tons of those, and I keep those.
Right.
And there's a voicemail of Don there that I got teary eye, and I did cry. And was at work because I didn't hear his voice for a while.
Yeah.
And it was one of those voicemails that I talked about, that like he would do these random calls and we would talk, and he was about him going to work, and he was just regular chatting.
Yep.
And this one was like, "Yo, man, whenever you're there, like just pick up. You know what I'm saying? I'll call you again. I'm just talking about this stupid ass job." Or like,
yeah.
And I was like,
that was his thing.
I'm saving this.
Yeah.
Like I'm
he
not
would call sometimes just to talk about I don't know what.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the thing about him, that sometimes I would get a call and he'd be like, "Yo, you ever went through?" And then he would come out with this thing. You'd be like, what? I don't know what you're talking. Okay, hold on. And we start talking about whatever. But it was because either he was in traffic or he was on his way home or something was going on. But a lot of that has stopped because he was closer to home now. So there was no traffic. There was no, you know what I mean? But he would like, you know, he came up a lot to my house, you know, him being in the city and us in the suburbs. So he would come up and hang out and stuff. And he came up one time, the last time that he came to the house before he passed away was like in February or something like that, or January. And he was just hanging out and stuff. We were just talking. But the biggest thing was him and Ivy always got to talking about stuff. And I never had those conversations with Don. Like I always have like quick little they will have these deep meaningful conversations about stuff. And
he would send me like a lot of Facebook stuff. Like we both was into conspiracy theories, all that stuff. So he would send me and we'll be talking. That's like that.
Would talk about, but she would talk to him. But she would talk to him about all these crazy things, you know, all these or whatever was going on or whatever. But anyway, I mean,
I also want to touch on real quick. I know I'm gonna speed it up because you got to go. But one thing, like I said, I touched on that the family, we've always been naturally separated.
Yep.
But I think the number one thing I think that happens in a lot of families is what's missing is just a communication, right?
Yes.
It's just a communication about everything.
Yep.
And letting shit go. And if you don't let it go, move past it. How do we move past it? Just with anything. There's been our family is just naturally like that.
Yep.
We hold grudges, you know, and everyone has a reason what they feel. No one's negating that at all. Right. But I think in every family is just sitting down and communicating and moving forward. Because when you just look at it, we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Me and my brother, through my art, opened up a conversation through the show. He didn't know I felt that way, or I didn't find an opening that I never had an opening to share that with him.
Yep.
You know, we had a conversation and we moved past it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my mom, we had a conversation. We moved past. I set people for what they are and who they are.
Right.
Eventually, at the end of the day, is my shit to take responsibility and move forward from it. And I think, you know, what this family just needs is just an open communication. It's all right if you don't like certain people in the family. I gravitate to the people to who I like.
That's right.
Naturally.
That's right.
Every time I talk, not saying that I hate people in the group, but I talk to you, and I talk to Ivy, like you know, Shane, you know, Storm, you know, Becky. Like I have my people that I just it's a lot of people in the family. It's just, you're
it's
closer.
not right. It's not an offense if I don't go to you, and like most of the cousins are older, way older than us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like older than me, so even way older than you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like Ace and Irma, I didn't grow up with them.
Yeah.
They're in their what 60s, I think
Yeah.
now. So you're talking about, I got cousins that are in their 60s. I got cousins that are in their late 60s, and then they got cousins that are younger than me.
Yeah.
So we didn't grow up together, but we are learning
Yeah.
now, how to do these things and how to talk and stuff like that, and how to just communicate. And when
Yeah.
we see each other, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice when I see Ace and Irma,
Yeah.
it's nice when I see cousin Jasmine and stuff, and all this. And we don't see each other maybe
Yeah.
every 5 years we see them,
Yeah.
or every 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, how you doing? Anything's nice? Oh, you had a kid. Look at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how we don't see each other.
Yeah.
They don't even probably know that we just had another kid. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but so what? You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to be the Waltons. We don't all have to be, hey, go reach out to,
Yeah.
Lou that lives right next to me, but
Yeah.
she's so much older than me. We
Yeah.
really didn't have that connection, like
Yeah.
we've had a good connection when we're together. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
great. I love Jerry.
Yeah, I didn't get close to
and
Lourdes
Madison.
and Jerry too. They came to my show. That was not like this show brought
Right.
so much connections and
they're in their 50s. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, but it's okay. It's like
Yeah.
we got to remember that there is a age barrier,
Yeah.
and it's okay to acknowledge it and to say, hey man, when you were a little kid, I didn't want to hang out with you
Yeah.
because you were a little kid and I was already an adult.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And I learned that as I was growing up. I was always mad at my brothers, but then when I became a teenager, I didn't want to be with anybody. I mean, I have anybody under me because I was the baby,
Yeah.
but I sure didn't want to hang out with anybody else. I wanted to hang out with teenagers.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even imagine having, like, my daughter now is 16, and she has a 6-year-old, 11-year-old sister, 6-year-old brother, 4-year-old brother, and an infant. She don't want to hang out with them. You know what I mean? She wants to hang out with her friends and talk about, anime, all this stuff.
And it's a natural thing that I think it's a natural thing that happens to the human psyche. Like, it's just, if you're just older, it's just
and it's not
younger.
It's
you
just
get
a disconnect. Older that you
disconnect.
start realizing it's not about the age anymore. It's like we're all adults.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We have a quick segment. Okay. I don't want to do this. I want to do this before you go, because everyone gets this. So it's just quick answers. It's called Let's Look Inside. This segment, you probably heard of it. Another one.
Yeah.
And the first question is, what do you love about yourself?
Oof. What do I love about myself? I love that I'm passionate. I love that I'm a hard worker. I love that about myself. Yeah.
Well, second question is, what do you think is the meaning of your life?
The meaning of my life was to finally get a connection with God, and to have the children and the wife that I have right now. So the meaning of my life was to love, and to love my wife and my children, because God put them in my hands.
These are reflection cards. I shuffled them and picked one. There's 2 questions on it.
I like it.
And I don't know what they are until right now. And it goes, what irrational fears did you have as a child?
Man, this is crazy. I was always afraid of jail. Yeah, I was always afraid of jail and the military. Mm-hmm. Only because of war and stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because when I was growing up, the Gulf War in 1991, I was 14. Oh, damn. And I thought the world was gonna end. Like, we were going. It was a little war that was over there. I mean, to me, now it's little to me, but to the guys that fought and the women that fought for us over there, I thank them for that. But I was afraid. I was afraid of that, because I was afraid. You remember the Vietnam and all that type of stuff, and of course, I wasn't gonna be able to be drafted. But you start thinking about things like that, But the irrational fear was fear of prison and fear of the military going to war. Yeah, it was such a weird thing as a kid to be afraid of.
This is like 3 years old and you're worrying about the draft.
Yeah, I was 14. I was like, oh my God, it's so scary. It's like, they ain't taking you.
What irrational fears do you have now?
Wow, irrational fear I have now.
I think you touched on one already, but I'll wait till if you answer it.
Well, I guess I don't think it's irrational. Only that I'm afraid to lose my wife, and I'm afraid for her to lose me. Mm-hmm. but I don't think it's irrational because I think it I mean, not that I think it's gonna happen eventually, you know. But yeah, that's one thing that for our children's sake, you know, I hope and pray to God that we are there for them for the entirety, because you know, like I said, my brother now has a 18-year-old, a 19-year-old son, a 26-year-old son. They don't have any kids yet, and he has a daughter who's 28 who has 5 kids, and he was there to see them. Thank God, and he was there to be a grandpa. But you know, that's a fear that I've always had, and now it's real. You know, it's super real. You know, it was always real because we all know we're gonna go sometime. But it's super real, and now, you know, and that's my biggest fear is losing, you know, my wife, and she losing me, and those kids losing us.
And I think to end it on a not a happy note, but on a plain level, is like, it is a genuine and respectable fear to have, especially during these times and just in general. And I think it touches more onto, well, make every day count, in a sense. Like, you know, yeah, we got to go to work and repeat the routine, but take that moment to, you know, give a hug to your kids, you know, cherish that, you know, say I love you to your wife, because you just never know. So make sure you just do it and be in the moment for it, because you just never know.
Absolutely.
So that means more than anything, and live life the way you want to live it.
You know, well, I mean, definitely that. One thing that I wish to improve on is being a better father to my kids. You know, to be more patient with them. But like I've always said, my father was the greatest father ever. Wasn't the greatest husband, but he was a great father. You know, a tremendous father. And I wish I had the patience that he had with us, with my kids now. You know, I want to be a better father to them. But I thank you guys for this. I mean, this was incredible. I was so nervous today because I was like, oh, I didn't want to listen to my story. What's my story? You know, and you know, thank everybody for listening and you know, being able to share this. You know, being able to share this.